It's the SKOR North Twin Show.
Wow, TwinsFest. It was actually a fun week of. It was the most fun week of the Twins off season. We can say that, right?
It wasn't hard to accomplish.
Yeah, we had the Diamond Award. Well, we had Joe Mauer Hall of Fame, and then we had Diamond Awards. Dex and I made our return to the Diamond Awards. Judd, you went to the media luncheon on Friday, and then you were at TwinsFest throughout the weekend. I did not make it to TwinsFest.
Saturday, yep.
You were there Saturday?
Yep. Because Sunday's now gone. It's been cut out.
Oh, they've eliminated Sunday.
Yeah, they do the thing at the Fillmore on Friday, and then Saturday, I think they call it Signature Saturday, but there's a bunch of stuff there, and then Sunday is now gone.
Okay. They got to clear the way for football to take place on Sunday. Okay with that. So we're going to turn over to you here, Judd, on this episode of the SKOR North Twin Show. Give us, is it five things you learned?
Five things, some breaking news too. Some breaking news. Some TV intelligence that is all that I gleaned that's all of a sudden going to make the TV thing make way more sense. Something I hadn't thought about, something I didn't know. So yes, it's five things, but I think we should start with what was the big talker, and that is the status of Byron Buxton. Now, warning, caution. If you have read all the stuff about Buxton, which we'll get into in a second, and you are just like, oh man, Willie Mays is back.
He lit the flame, man.
I know he did.
He did. No, it was the Fillmore thing on Friday, right?
Yep.
Which is kind of a rah-rah.
And then Saturday doubled down.
Okay.
He lit the flame, but let me say this. Nobody until now poured water on that flame. All right.
Oh, we can always rely on Judd.
We're going to have to pour some water.
Pour cold water.
We're going to have to pour some water. We're going to have to.
Declan and I will decide if.
Yeah.
Okay.
We will be standing with another bucket to catch your cold water if needed here. Okay.
I don't think what I'm about to say is going to really truly be, if you think about this, it's just going to be the fire starting, and I want to control it. So Buxton was asked on Friday at the Fillmore at the event by Corey Provis, new TV play-by-play guy, thank God. Byron Buxton was asked about being back in center field, which is the expectation, or has been, it's been talked about this season, to which Buxton immediately said, oh yeah, I'm back. Yeah, awesome. On Saturday, he talked more about this, and he said that his rehab feels, and I am quoting him directly, feels money, that he's been having success, that he's been doing a lot of work, that he feels that this is it. Now, let's go back and revisit his surgery, okay? Arthroscopic, so yes, it was not truly invasive, but he is coming off a knee surgery in which they are saying that he had a membrane flap in his right knee excised. That means they removed it.
Okay.
That means there was a
excised.
Yeah, that means that there was a flap that they just took off. You could have used
Let's go with
removed, but
excised,
they wanted to
having
use
been
this
cut
one.
out surgically.
Yeah, so they cut
having
it out.
been removed from this is the alternate definition, would be removed from text or a piece of music. So we're excising. We excised part of his knee.
Thank you.
Okay. We removed part of his knee. We cut out surgically part of his knee.
Yeah, just keep saying it, because what you're saying is going down the path
we amputated a section of his knee.
Yeah, a part of your knee that you have, Byron Buxton doesn't. That's not good. In fact, I would prefer that I didn't have that part and that he did, because it would be more fun to go watch him play baseball. Anyway, long story short, nobody then came back and said, okay, let's wait and see on this. Because here is the reality, in my opinion, with where this is trending. This is it. This is the last chance. If this does not work, and I'm going to tell you right now what we didn't talk about. All right. So he's been doing, and no one's ever questioned him. I'll say this for the 1,000th time. No one has ever questioned Buxton. It's not fair, but Mauer got the tag of being soft, right? I have not heard that, other than a few just angry, bitter Twins fans. I've never heard that about Buxton. But let's get to the most important thing. This guy's done rehab throughout his life. He's been hurt a ton. He's always worked his ass off. He always goes in early. I mean, Phil, you saw that. But what we're not talking about here is this. And there was the problem last year, and I think it's what they're trying to fix. And if it's not fixed now, I think his career might be done. It's standing. It's standing in center field. It's the reason why I don't think anyone is talking about him playing a corner outfield spot, which, by the way, would make a ton of sense if that was going to help him.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly. Thank you. I think it's the standing. And so, you know what? Be optimistic, Byron. You should be. God bless you. I hope it works. It would be awesome. The reality is, I think he's so optimistic because he knows if this does not work, this is probably it.
I actually, I mean, you're kind of looking at it as like, skeptical. Yeah,
I just want to see.
Well, okay. Of course, there's not a great chance that he is just magically fixed and now he's going to have a run of 5 years in center field. There's a really good chance that, something flares up again in like April or May or whatever. But I love that they've landed here. Enough of like the DH stuff that really ultimately hurt them more than anything because he wasn't a great DH period. And then they couldn't like be as flexible with lineups because they're trying to build everything around him as a DH.
Yes.
And it was his worst offensive season in like 5 years. His value is rooted in outfield defense. And he's 30, so we don't know how much longer. And he's, his knee has just been, they've been excising things from his knee. So obviously we don't know if he's going to be one of the top defensive center fielders anymore, but this is what they should do. Listen, okay, if it works, awesome. Now we've got one of the best defensive center fielders. He's out there for 100, 120 games. That would be perfect for the Twins. If not, I think you can now move on safely after the season. Like if this doesn't work, I don't know how that would work with like, he'd probably want to keep rehabbing. Would you try to get him to retire? I don't know how that would work, but my biggest question is, okay, it's likely that this doesn't work. So who then plays center field? And you're really relying on, Austin Martin is going to be in the mix for sure. You did just claim Bubba Thompson, former first-round pick. Willie Castro. Yeah. So you're going to have like three dudes. Maybe Max Kepler is still around and you can convince him to play some center field. It sounds like, according to The Athletic last year, he didn't want to play center field. But my biggest question is, okay, are you prepared for this to not work? And Michael A. Taylor was he was one of the best defensive center fielders. He had some pop. So that's kind of where I'm at. I like that they're doing this. I want to know what their contingency plan is.
Mm-hmm. Going back to our conversation at the end of the season after they got eliminated from the Astros, I kind of had the same take on it. Anything you get from Byron Buxton is gravy. They played their best baseball in 2023 when he was out of the lineup. They made a playoff run. They won playoff games without him. They accomplished things without him for the first time. They have a core roster around him that's pretty dang good and popping up. And if he comes back and he's Byron Buxton of old and he's healthy and he's playing 140 games, he's contributing, well, holy crap, now you've unlocked an awesome team. But I'm not counting on that anymore. I can't count on it. So anything you get from him is gravy on your Thanksgiving dinner. I'm not counting that this guy can ever really stay healthy and live up to his full potential. He's injury riddled. And if he's healthy now, awesome. I'm excited for it. But I am just looking at this as an extra bonus special.
Yeah, I agree completely. And that's the thing is like, that's so yes, he's excited and he should be, and hopefully it does work. But I think the key thing, Dex, is what you just said, and Phil as well. I think the key thing is you got to have perspective here, but by now. And I'm with Phil completely. And this is why I think that this is his last chance. I believe that if it turns out that he just cannot stand, right? Like he can't stand out there, that he's done because the DH thing doesn't work. Like that's not an option. In fact, it clogs things up. So like to me, this is all or nothing in the sense of if you can play the outfield, awesome. You can contribute. If you can't, you really don't have a place on the roster.
Yeah.
So.
And the other thing too, just statistically on this, if you look at center field analytics by team. So the Toronto Blue Jays had by far the most defensive runs saved at the center field position because Kevin Kiermaier was their full season center fielder. Now he was a free agent. He wanted to go back to Toronto, so he did. But this is my point. The Twins are running the risk of the Twins were the 8th best defensive center field unit last year, in large part because Michael A. Taylor was really good out there. They were a +7 defensive run saved. Toronto was a +36 with Kevin Kiermaier. He was available for the right price if you wanted to just have a really good center fielder. And they chose, I'm sure we'll get into the TV thing here as one of your points. They chose to not spend money. They've chosen not to bring Michael A. Taylor back, right? They've chosen to go essentially cheap with fingers crossed hope that Byron Buxton can get back to playing maybe 100 games. I do think there's enough guys in the bin, like an Austin Martin. Could one of these guys pop up? But my biggest concern would be you go from the 8th best center field defense down to 25th because you're running Willie Castro out there more than you wanted to. And now your pitching is affected, right? Sonny Gray is gone. So having that defensive presence in center field is such a stabilizing pillar for pitching, for run prevention, everything. And they had it last year. They've had it for a long time with even Buxton playing 80 games. So, and one more thing on this. Buxton playing 70 games is better than Buxton playing 0 games in the outfield. If he can still move in the outfield.
Sure.
So to me, it's not this all or nothing. If you can get him to play X amount of games, it'll help you win another game or 2 or 3 over the average center fielder, even if he's out there for only like a third or a half the season.
Yeah. The only thing I would say about that is the problem is if you have to, and this of course has happened on more than one occasion, if you have to shut him down in August again, that's my thing. So like you need him, let's say play 70 to 75 games and I have him for the vast majority of the season. I think that's probably a success. But if it's another August 15th, knees barking, can't play anymore, see you next year again, then you've run into a problem. But I think not bringing back Taylor is a mistake.
They could still, by the way, he's still a free agent.
And I think they should, because partially my problem is this. Willie Castro has a definite role and he plays it pretty damn well. But I go back to, and I'm not saying that they're the same player, but I go back to like Jay Cave, who had a role, right? And Rocco just started to run him out there.
Yeah.
And what you said is exactly right. You know what? When you take role players and decide, okay, this guy's doing me a solid, I'm going to continue to play him. How many times have we seen that fall apart? And this is true in all sports. So I'm with you.
Yep. Okay. Number two.
The TV waiting game. A TV waiting game. I understand. I sympathize. I've had my own frustration. Where are we going to watch the Twins this season? Where are they going to be streamed? Who's going to have the rights? And I've been like, why doesn't this get done? And Phil, you basically heard the same thing when you went to the Diamond Awards that I heard at the media luncheon, which is it's changing by the day. I can't give an update because, what was true 2 hours ago, I then meet at 2:00 and that's not true from noon, blah, blah, blah. Here is a key sticking point, though, that I think helps to explain it. It won't alleviate frustration, but I do think it helps to explain what's going on. The Amazon agreement with Bally's, which is huge potentially, because that's the whole streaming platform.
So they bought a minority stake in Diamond Sports Group, right? For like $100 million.
What I was told on background was no payments have to be made for a few months, and Amazon is getting a look-see. There is a fear that Amazon's going to look-see and say, we don't like what we see, and get out. If that happens, here's one of the huge problems. The streaming reverts to Bally's streaming service, which, as Declan and Phil can tell you, is a disaster.
What would they not like? Like the numbers? Are they
Probably
worried
the
that
numbers.
that not that many people stream baseball games because it's an older crowd?
I don't know exactly, but here's my fear. Bally's is basically screwed, right? I wonder if they would get in and see what a mess Bally's is and say, you know what? They're going to end up being bought out of bankruptcy court, which would be cheaper probably. Like, I think there could be a lot of business things. But anyway, the teams, I think, are very afraid of, and rightfully so, that let's say on July 2nd, it's like, okay, Amazon decided to get out, and now Bally's is streaming. I think this has little to do with actual television as we know it, and a lot to do with streaming, and it should. So I think this is the problem and in the Twins case, the one thing that they have is they do not have a contract. So like the majority of these teams, they're actually going to court with Bally's. They're still under contract. So they're a little bit tied up.
Yeah.
The Twins aren't. So if the Twins re-sign and it's a bad decision, they've like gone back into the pool, which I think scares them. And that also is a problem.
Yeah. And I mean, I think from a obviously from a Twin standpoint, it was so much easier for 20, 25 years when a big cable network would come in and say, we'll just cut you a check. So you're going to get, for the next 10 years, you're going to get 40, 45, $55 million a year. And then the TV network, the cable network, Fox Sports North and eventually Bally's would sell ads against it. And they would presumably, I don't know if they would make money off that because they eventually went bankrupt, but like that's an easier, cleaner arrangement, right? Just, okay, everything you pay for our product and you write us a check and it's clean. And it's so messy now because on the streaming front, it'd be great if Amazon came in like more than they even did with the minority investment and say, you know what? For the 18 teams that are kind of up in the air with their streaming home, and maybe there's another 5 or 6 too. Like if you take the Yes Network out, like take the big networks and give those like the Yankees are going to want their Yes Network situation, right? But could Amazon come in at some point and say, all right, for the other 18 or 20 teams, your games will be available. We will pay Major League Baseball X amount per year over 5 years, whatever it is. And those 18 to 20 home games or home schedules are going to be on Amazon Prime. But that doesn't fix the cable problem.
Right.
I don't think baseball would want to go, especially with an older audience, 100% streaming for their games. Because now you're going to alienate your core audience that doesn't necessarily know how. I mean, the NFL's kind of doing it with some of their product, but NFL's doing it with their Thursday product, not with their whole product, not with their Sunday product.
Right. And eventually more and more leagues and teams are going to do this. But yeah, I just think that there's a lot of trepidation though, because Bally's is such a flop. Like, I think it starts there. Because if you get left in June or July with their streaming platform, you guys, it's an unmitigated disaster, to quote Stephen A. Smith. I mean, you think about that, and now it's not, it's one of the worst streaming platforms I've ever seen.
I agree. It's bad.
So anyway, part of the hang up is the actual worry about how the streaming agreement is going to work and if it really is going to work. And I don't think anybody wants to do front end business with Bally's because they are just a colossal disaster.
Yep. Okay. Number 3.
All right.
Third thing you learned.
Time for some reckless speculation. Some real reckless speculation. I'm going to go into a territory.
Reckless speculation.
So I'm walking around TwinsFest on Saturday, and there was a suite that had a Twins, like, I don't know if you call it a pop-up shop, but a shop with like memorabilia, rosin bags, packaged and sold for like $35, nameplates from lockers. So, hats and jerseys worn by probably slappies, but still, it's cool, right?
Yeah.
Well, as I walked in, to my left on the bar, there were a couple of framed autograph photos being sold very cheap. One, not surprisingly, the newest Los Angeles Angel, Miguel Sano. Okay, makes perfect sense. He's gone, been gone for a while. Right by that, being sold for $25, framed, autographed, nice photo, Jorge Polanco.
Okay, so, but what do you mean? Like, they're selling a current Twins player's autograph at TwinsFest.
Okay. And for $25, cheaper than Kenta Maeda's. Cheaper than anyone else's I saw.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, wouldn't be surprised if the business operations department said, we've been hearing or we've been told he ain't coming back.
Let's discount that autograph from $28 to $25.
So we're gonna discount it from, like, Kenta Maeda was like $40. So like it was severely discounted, and I found that, and then I got a note when I tweeted that out, if this is correct, saying Polanco was scheduled to be at TwinsFest and wasn't. Now, I don't know if that was true or not, but Max Kepler was. All I'm saying is my gumshoe reporting skills, my sports detective skills, I went Columbo.
Reckless speculation.
Jorge Polanco out, Max Kepler stays.
They had They had an auctioneer at TwinsFest who was, helping with bidding and stuff. So I can just now see this auction. Like, do I hire 25 for this autograph Polanco? Got it 30. Do I have 30 or 35? Oh, actually, no. Back to $20. $20 sold.
$19.
To this
Oh, $17.
Sold.
Oh, $15. $13. Oh, no.
15.
You pay us. We pay you.
If Jorge Polanco gets traded, I just want it to be known here that I put it out there first.
That you put it out there
Oh,
first.
my
sleuthing.
Not the entire
Three
NL
months of John Morosi
I put it out
John
there.
Heyman.
Oh, screw Morosi. You know what? I'm seeing way too much Twin stuff. Who does Morosi think he is?
By the way, he wrote the Justin Morneau voiceover for Joe
really good.
Mauer's Hall of Fame video. Yeah,
He's very good.
but so
not
just
Mike. Not Mike Farron going on Seattle radio, basically saying that Jorge Polanco would be a great fit for the Mariners 3 days ago. Okay, got it.
3 months of credible industry reports, and Judd's like, I saw discounted autographs at Twins.
I almost bought it, by the way.
You should have.
And then some guy right by me popped in and grabbed it because it's such a good deal. Okay.
Number 4.
A new swing for Miranda is the headline. So Carlos Correa, and I've this is the second consecutive year. I didn't realize this, but he asks the Twins to send him clips of teammates who are doing off-season work on things. And according to Correa, Jose Miranda, who of course was shut down because of a shoulder problem, which actually turned out to be, I think, scar tissue or something on his rotator cuff. Jose Miranda, a lost season in 2023, but he hit 15 home runs 2 years back. If Correa is correct, and now I will say this, a year ago, Correa said, Jose Miranda's in the greatest shape. He's going to have a huge year. So Carlos tends to get excited, but
He does.
But if he is correct, if Miranda can contribute, I think this provides an interesting discussion at first base.
It'd be a great conundrum to have because he was great with the bat a couple of years ago at times. So, yeah, I mean, you just, especially if you're not, if you're going to kind of keep your roster as is, maybe they trade Polanco for a pitcher and that would be great. But there's a lot of ifs right now on the offensive and fielding side, right? If Buxton, if Kirilloff, if Royce Lewis can stay healthy for a full season. There's a lot of health ifs here. If I would even add, if Matt Wallner can follow up his rookie season, how many Twins have you seen with a really good rookie season? Go back to the Lou Ford. He was batting 400 for 2 months, right? I mean, there's been examples for 20, 30 years. Are we sure that everyone who is producing and everyone who stayed healthy is going to produce and stay healthy? Do we have enough track record? So getting another player in the mix to be an option would be a great thing. We've kind of written him off, though, I feel like Miranda kind of disappeared last year.
Forgot about him.
Yeah. But he was considered 2 years ago to be a really important cog in this whole thing. Before we get to your fifth thing that you learned, a shout out to our friends at Zero Res. So Zero Res is here to help you deep clean your house. There's no better way to do it, and there's no better company to do it. A 4.9 out of 5-star rating on Google with 17,000 reviews. So Zero Res is here with the SKOR North special, which is 3 rooms, 0 resified, starting at just $119. 3 rooms, 0 resified, $119, and $75 off when you get your Air Ducts Zero Res clean. Call 952-0-RES or zeroresminnesota.com and say you want that SKOR North special. Spell it forward or backwards. It spells the same. Zero Res. All right. What's the fifth thing that you learned sleuthing around this weekend?
Okay. So first of all, congratulations to former Twins GM Terry Ryan and former bullpen coach and jack of all trades Rick Stelmasic, who passed away. Both are going to go into the Twins Hall of Fame this summer, and that's right, no players are going in. So you're saying, why not? All right. In 2014, Knobloch was elected but not inducted because of off-the-field unfortunate incident. In 2015, no former player reached the 60% threshold. It's 60% that was required to get into the Twins Hall of Fame. Morneau was inducted in 2021 from 2020, but no player was elected that year. And according to the Twins, they are now going into an every other year cycle for players, which I think is probably pretty smart.
Because we had some dark days there from that's the problem. the 80s and 90s well, because we didn't start the Hall of Fame till like 2000 or 2001.
2000. Yes.
So we got the whole 40-year history leading up to then.
Yep.
And then once that well ran out, we had these great contraction Twins players like Torrey Hunter and Johan, all these guys.
Mm-hmm.
But then 2011 through 2021.
And that's when Patrick got his guys like Tovar and Pasquale in, right?
Yeah,
Who had been ignored, in large part because people that vote hadn't seen them play. But now we're sort of at do you put Bernansky in? Do you put Smalley in? Do you put, there's going to be, so they're going to switch. I don't know about that. I don't know about that, Jim. I don't know about anything anymore, really. I used to be good. I don't know what happened to me. But anyway, but Terry richly deserves it, and Skelly probably does too. Mm-hmm. So those are the two going in, and I'm very curious to see next year at this time what former player gets in.
Yeah, I'd have to see a list, I guess, and kind of go down. But there's not that many from 2011. All of the early 2000s Twins are in for the most part, right?
Right.
So I'm trying to think of who would be left.
But despite the fact that he had offensively a couple of really good years, I mean, I don't think Brian Dozier, and he's from that.
I agree. I don't think he gets. I think we have to draw a line somewhere.
Smalley might get in on Twins sort of lifetime contribution because of the TV work as well. Yeah, but he's not a slam dunk. Brunansky, he got traded after 87. If Brunansky had stuck around, if Brunansky had been allowed to stay through 91, I think he's a shoe-in. But I don't know that he's a shoe-in now. So. And Stelly is the first former coach to go in. Managers have. He is the first ex-coach to go in.
Kevin Tapney? Is he in?
I don't think he's in.
Oh.
He was a really good. That's the thing. It's like if you were really good for a couple of years.
The World Series thing helps, right? I mean, I think that could push it. But again,
he was a really good Twins pitcher for he was a Twins pitcher for 5 or 6 years. He was a really good Twins pitcher for 3 years.
Right.
And he was one of their best starters on the World Series team in 91. Yeah, that's kind of the line you're trying to I would say this. Kevin, I don't think Tappaney's in. Tappaney would be more worthy than Dozier to me.
Yep.
They both were really good for 3 years. They were both Twins for 5 or 6 years.
Feels like we're forcing it though at that point a little bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Every other year. Until the franchise starts to, pick up a little steam here. One other thing that wasn't on your list, but this came across from Thad Levine on one of the interviews he did. Brooks Lee will be starting the season at AAA, they said. And the minute he's ready, they'll make room for him on the Major League team. But they're going to start him off at AAA. He is the Twins' #1 prospect. He's a shortstop. You got to wonder, too, is he going to be more second base? Right now, in a perfect world, shortstop is occupied for the foreseeable future. Third base with Royce Lewis. Eddie Julian at second. I know that you've been made fun of on Twins Twitter, Judd, for suggesting Brooks Lee to center field. He's not super athletic in that sense, so maybe it's more of corner outfield. But at some point you got to find a place for that dude to play. I could see Julian at first base, but then where does Kirilloff go?
Right.
So they got to figure some of this out. These are good problems. These are champagne problems, as the Vikings GM Kwesi would say.
This is just cheap poll ads again. Cheap poll ads.
What, keeping Brooks Lee in AAA?
I don't know. It just sounds good. If something's not right, cheap poll. Come on. Cheap poll ads.
He's probably flying middle seat, too, when he gets called up. Economy class. So there's 5 things Judd learned from sleuthing around at TwinsFest Media Day. And we will hit you with another episode of the SKOR North Twin Show later this week as we keep counting down our top 25 Twins of all time, a random Twin of the week. If you could give this show on Apple and Spotify a 5-star review and a positive rating, you can help us grow this thing with spring training just a couple weeks away. We'll see you later this week on the SKOR North Twin Show.